We're going to move on to Ron's question. He says, when is a lower interest rate worth paying the premium for a new car versus an old one? My wife and I are needing a new car, and interest rates for used are like 7 to 8%, where some deals for new cars have 3%.
Okay, so this one, I'm trying to think about how to answer this well. Ron, the answer, it's going to be mathematics, right? You got to weigh value of a used car versus cost of a used car with the interest rate factored in versus value of a new car versus cost of a new car with a lower interest rate factored in. Cars are hard decisions because they kind of suck, right? Like they're expensive and they require maintenance and they become less valuable through time. But sometimes buying a new car is justifiable. I know when my wife and I started having children, we said, hey, you know what? There's some pretty cool safety features out there. There's some stuff that'll like keep you inside the lane. There's some stuff that'll let you know if you're getting too close to the car in front of you. There's some stuff that'll let you see 360 degrees around the car. So those kinds of things are valuable. And so if you buy a 4, 5, 6-year-old car, you might not have that technology. So maybe it is justifiable to get the new one. But I think, is there an interest rate differential that exists where it makes sense to go new instead of used? There's just a lot more math that factors into it.
Well, here's what Bo is saying, and I'll just put it in some cold, hard numbers to put some reality on this, is that if you're paying 6% for a used car that costs $15,000, but it's going to be reliable transportation that gets you there and you're just starting out in your career, I'd rather you pay 6% for a $15,000 reliable used car than I'd rather you pay 0% or 1% on a $50,000 brand new car because you got excited that 0 to 1% on this new $50,000 car. That is a disaster. Yes, the interest rate was lower. The interest you will pay is going to be so much lower on that new car. But what have you done to your financial life? You have put yourself way behind and you focused on the wrong thing. Just like we tell people, don't let the tax tail wag the dog. And the fact that people will do some crazy things just so they can save some taxes from the government. Don't do crazy things with financing cars for long periods of time or buying way too much car more than you can afford at your stage of life just because the interest rate was a teaser rate. There's a reason, by the way, that the dealerships do this. They know that psychologically you're like, I'm getting a deal, I'm getting a steal, so it pushes you further out to go just a little bit further on how much you're willing to finance, how much you're willing to pay, and they can get you into, instead of the modest car that gets you from point A to point B, they can get you in the quasi-luxury car, but it is totally going to leverage your future. You want to get as much money into your savings and investments as young as possible so you can take advantage of compounding growth for you and your wealth building instead of loading up the auto manufacturers who are out there trying to create this illusion that the nicer car you drive, the more you'll impress your friends, family, and everyone else. It's false. What will impress your friends and family is when you can actually live your best financial life where you are making these sacrifices while you're in your 20s and 30s. So in your 40s, when you're going to Africa like I just did for 11 days, that people go, how did Brian take off 11 days? How did he get to fly that way? How did he get to stay in that place? It's because my 20 and 30-year-old self was making sacrifices. Don't skip the steps so you can feel better about yourself in your 20s and 30s and try to impress your friends. That's a false illusion. Let them think you're a cheapskate. Who cares? Because you're saving for the future. Bedazzle your basic life.
I love it, and I agree with everything you said. However, I'm going to throw one however out there. I get so frustrated that I see people sending good money after bad, sending good money after bad. I watch people that they'll go buy a used car that has 80,000 miles on it, and it's $5,000 less expensive than going to buy a newer car.
That's not the question that they were asking.
Financial mutants understand value and don't get so caught up in this, I have to buy used, I have to buy used, I have to buy. I agree with everything that you said, and I love it. But don't go out and, because I want the BMW, I'm going to go buy a used BMW instead of a new Honda Accord, right? Like I get so frustrated because I've got buddies who do that, and it drives me absolutely wild.
I want to go back to 22-year-old Brian, graduating from college. I could have gone and bought a new Honda for $18,000 or so.
Sounds amazing right now.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm old. I'm
Yeah.
old. But I actually ended up buying a $10,000 4-year-old Mazda. And I'm telling you
That's a 50% price differential.
Yes, but
I'll
I know
give you that.
it was so much more valuable, and I don't want people, because maybe instead of buying the brand new Honda Odyssey for your family, you are buying the 5-year-old, Dodge Caravan, or
Sure.
that cost a third to a half of what the brand new Honda Odyssey. The rules are set up to challenge you, to get the most money working for you without sacrificing reliability and safety for your family. Just make sure you're checking your ego. Ego is the biggest thing that I feel like slows down people's walk towards financial success. And if you don't have this minimalist idea of bedazzling your basic life so you can have that great big beautiful tomorrow in the future, you're not squeezing hard enough. And look, I want you to be able to have memories. And that's what I told my wife when we were on this trip to Africa. I was like, we did Italy so cheap in our 20s. I'd love to go back now and do Italy again in our current state, because it'd be kind of fun to compare and contrast. But I still stand by the fact that me doing Italy in my 20s so cheap, but still doing it. I still made the memories. I didn't just turn into a miser who was saving and sacrificing life events and memories. It's just my 20-year-old self is going to do it completely different than my 40-something-year-old self. And that's what the mentality, how are you squeezing your life to build as much as you can while you have 30 to 40 years of compounding growth? Because I don't feel like we tell enough people, have a builder's mentality, not a consumer's mentality, because that's what's going to be the difference and turn you into a financial mutant.